Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Series 8 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really fun team featuring Choice Scarf, Soak, Tapu Fini, as well as AV Zekrom and Life Orb Venusaur. The idea is to often get soaks off with Tapu Fini before your opponents expect it, turn them into water type, and then pick up a big knockout with them with either Zekrom or Venusaur. It's a physical Zekrom here rather than the special Zekrom we had used previously a couple of weeks ago. Physical is important for this team just because you already have special damage coming out from Venusaur, so that really gives you a good, spread in terms of damage output. So Scarfini is really cool. You can actually outspeed pretty much everything in the format without speed boosts other than Regieleki. It will outspeed Calyrex Shadow Rider, and that's pretty much like the second fastest thing after Regieleki. So with that, you can often change their type. Changing their type, by the way, is cool for two reasons. Obviously, you turn them into water type to just do damage, but you can also get rid of the same type attack bonus that they get from their attacks, right? So if they max something and you soak them, then they'll often do significantly less damage if they're going for an attack that they would normally get the stat bonus from. So a lot of cool components to this team. Fini is obviously the main star, enabling Zekrom and Venusaur. AV Zekrom, very, very cool Pokemon. I think often when players see this Zekrom, they'll expect something like Life Orb, maybe Weakness Policy, but AV, not an item you see on it super frequently, but does allow you to survive a lot of the special attackers in the format. Life Orb Venusaur, pretty standard stuff, but it is running Protect rather than Sleep Powder. One thing that's so tough about playing around Venusaur in Series 8 is the fact that, you can Sleep Powder or just go for Gigantamax immediately. And this team utilizes kind of the fact that your opponent has to play around Sleep Powder, right? Often players will go for something like Fake Out on a Venusaur to just deny it a potential Sleep Powder on turn 1. It's really risky to max something in front of Venusaur because if Venusaur just Sleep Powers you and you get hit by it, you're in a really, really bad position on turn 1. So this Venusaur doesn't actually have Sleep Powder, but your opponents don't know that, so they'll often spend a couple turns trying to play around a Sleep Powder that doesn't actually exist. Citrus, bulky Torkoal with Yawn, Burning Jealousy, Body Presses has been really standard, and it's still such a good set. And then classic Urshifu and Lum, Swords Dance, Landorus. So, huge thank you to Akuma VGC for the team. I've linked his Twitter down in the description below, as well as an Arento and a Pace, courtesy of him. This team is a lot of fun. It took me a little bit of time to get the hang of it. I played a couple of games. It's really important to know how your speed interactions work with this team. So knowing that Zekrom and Venusaur are pretty slow. Venusaur, even under Sun, can be slower than Regieleki, for example. That's a big piece of information to know. And Tapu Fini, despite the Choice Scarf, of course, can still get outsped by Regieleki as well. Zekrom doesn't have that much speed investment, so even if you use Max Airstream from that dual Wing Beat, a fair amount of things in the format will outspeed you as well. So keep that in mind as you try out this team because, it is really, really strong. Speed interaction is really important, so it's just more essential than ever, especially when you're trying to use these soak strategies to keep in mind when you think you'll attack first and when you think your opponent will attack first. But thanks so much, as always, for watching. Question of the day, by the way, I want to know what one place you want to visit is down in the comment section below. Let me know, and let's get started with today's episode. All right, getting into things today, and it's going to be a Dialga thing to kick things off. It's not great to see for Zekrom, but I guess I could still go for soak stuff, so it's not awful. We do have AV as well, so it could be worse. I kind of want to go with Fini Zekrom here with Torkoal Venusaur in the back. I don't know, Landorus is really good into Dialga. Like, if I get a Swords Dance off with Landorus, it could really sweep through. It's just pretty hard to actually get that off, and I also have to be careful about activating a Defiant and Thundurus at any given point. Urshifu would be tempting just to close combat into Dialga, but other than that, I don't see much of a reason to, so yeah. I'm going to go with Fini Zekrom here, because if you're my opponent, you should be expecting Torkoal Venusaur, right? And that lead is rather strong. So I expect something like Whimsicott Thundurus. That would counteract Torkoal Venusaur decently. Although I suppose with Whimsicott Thundurus, you can just Tailwind Max Lightning Tapu Fini turn 1. That's not even that bad for us, though, right? Because then we just get a stronger Max Lightning into the Thundurus in return, and it'd be a 2-hit KO. Torkoal and Venusaur are both pretty good against Dialga in the late game because I've got Body Press on Torkoal, Earth Power on Venusaur, but, Dialga still will do a lot of damage into both of those. Fini setting up Misty Terrain could actually be valuable in reducing Dialga's damage output. So, let's see. I think the tricky thing with the soak shenanigans is that, unfortunately, Scarfini still gets outsped by a lot, right? Gets outsped by Regieleki, for example. Well, actually not a lot. Eleki is the one meta Pokemon that will outspeed it. This Fini is designed to outspeed Calyrex Shadow Rider, so that's what, base 150 speed. But Whimsicott can obviously set up Tailwind. It's going to be Landorus Grimmsnarl, though. So this puts my Zekrom in a very bad spot. I'm probably going to want to switch it out. I have Icy Wind with Fini, which is kind of neat. kind of lean towards Icy Winding here. I don't have a safe switching into Max Quake, though, is the problem. Now the question is whether or not they Max Quake me, because I could obviously have Landorus in the back. They're faster with their Zekrom. I mean, one play I could make here if they're not going to fake out is just Icy Wind with Scarf Fini, Max, and then Max Warm Wind. I could also still just go for the Soak play, but if Landorus maxes, it's going to survive anyway. Icy Wind would drop Landorus' speed, and then I would Warm Wind it before it gets an attack off to decrease its attack. I think that's actually kind of a cool play, but the downside is, obviously, Grimmsnarl could fake out Tapu Fini right now. It just doesn't feel right to... You know what I could do? I could... I don't know, soak Landorus and switch Zekrom out actually into Torkoal. Because as soon as I turn it into Water type, that enables both my... Oh, they switch. Okay. Into Whimsicott. You know, that works for me. Because now you have two Pokemon that don't put on any offensive pressure whatsoever. I'm kind of surprised to see the switch, but I'm pretty happy. I'll take it. So maybe Grimmsnarl just sets up screens right now, but this actually gets Torkoal out in a pretty cool spot. Although now if I'm soaking the Whimsicott, I get rid of its grass typing. And they just go for a Reflect. Okay. You know, all things considered, I think that's fine. I'll take that turn. Now what do we want to do? I'm going to switch Fini out. It's not really offering us very much right now. I think this is a perfect opportunity to go out into Venusaur. And, I think I'm content just going for Burning Jealousy in this position. Gets a little bit of chip damage on the board, breaks a potential Focus Sash on Whimsicott, and now I get Venusaur out, to which I can just max it. And I don't know, going for Icy Wind or Nature Madness would have ended up being better, but the idea of soaking Landorus is there if Landorus maxes, like, cover for that option. So, like, yes, Whimsicott gets Tailwind up right now, but you don't actually have something to utilize that Tailwind, so I'm not that scared of it right now. I think we do just go for the Vine Lash this turn. Okay, pretty good chip onto Whimsicott. Like, I can just go for Max Vine Lash into Whimsicott, and... What's your switching into Vine Lash? It's going to be Dialga, right? There's no way they didn't bring Dialga as their fourth. So it's pretty safe to go for Vine Lash onto Whimsicott. But I could eat up a Fake Tears this turn, I think. I think it's better to protect with Torkoal here. Just to buy another turn of Tailwind. And scout for a Fake Tears. Yeah, I'm content going for Protect Burning Jealousy here. Let's see if they switch. Okay, they stay in, which is what I want to see. I just want to see all of the attacks the Whimsicott and Grimmsnarl have right now. Wow, Sucker Punch. Okay, and they target Venu. And just Moonblast. Alright, that really means you don't have Fake Tears or any Trick Shenanigans from Grimmsnarl, which is good. So that's actually a pretty nice turn for us, right? Because we just bypassed the turn of their Tailwind, and they only have 2 turns of Tailwind left now, which is good for us. So I'm content to just go for the Vine Lash now onto the Whimsicott. There is an argument to switch out Torkoal right now, because there's, what, 2 turns of Sun left? I definitely want to Vine Lash to get rid of the Whimsicott. Could go back into Fini to soak. I'm down for that. Yeah, let's switch out Torkoal right now, because I'm not doing that much damage with Burning Jealousy or Body Press anyway, and they're going to switch out Grimmsnarl, but that means Whimsicott's staying in. That's fine with me. Landorus comes out. I could have gone for a Yawn or a Body Press. I mean, Burning Jealousy gets a little bit of damage there, but I don't think that's really worth it. So the good thing here is that we've timed things decently, right? We'll knock out Whimsicott here. Landorus is going to take the 1/6 chip from Vine Lash, and then I'm setting myself up for a potential, like, Soak endgame here as well. As soon as Tailwind's over, I do have to watch out for Landorus boosting its speed via Max Airstream, so that's one thing to watch out for. But it's always good to see a Pokemon switch in the turn you're Vine Lashing, because it means that that Pokemon can't Dynamax for that given turn, and that means it's taking 1/6 of damage, 1/6 of its health immediately, right? So, yeah. You know, I think typically if you're using this team, you expect to soak and then attack immediately. Somehow we ended up soaking Whimsicott, and now we can knock it out with the Vine Lash, which is kind of funny. Hopefully no special attack drop here. That could be kind of bad. Okay, didn't speak it into an existence there. That's good. So we'll get Vine Lash off. That's going to be a knockdown into Whimsicott. The residual is obviously going to be great. We've seen Grimmsnarl use both Screens and Sucker Punch, so we still don't know what the last move is. Most Grimmsnarls don't carry Fake Out these days. So yeah, I could see why my opponent switched out Landorus turn 1, by the way, is because if you're expecting me to have Landorus in the back and I switched it in as you max, you're in a really bad spot by giving up your max that early on. They didn't even bring Dialga. Whoa. Okay, I'm shocked by that, but I will take that gladly. Because Venusaur is looking so good right now. I'm honestly content to just Vine Lash into Primarina here and soak into Landorus. Tailwind ends after this turn. Max Airstream shouldn't one-shot Venusaur. And then Zekrom does really well into both of these. It might be safer to Max Guard here, I think. Yeah, I should probably Max Guard here in case I get crit by a Max Airstream. So, like, I like Max Guarding here and soaking the Landorus. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't know. It's, like, very tempting to Vine Lash there, because if we don't get crit, Primarina should feint to Vine Lash, and then I've turned your Landorus into Water type as well. But then the thing is, Max Airstream into Venusaur plus Sucker Punch from Grimmsnarl might be enough to KO. So, by Max Guarding here, the only way this doesn't work is if you one-shot Tapu Fini. No, you could double up onto it, I suppose. Although, Fini might outspeed Primarina, even though Primarina's under Tailwind. Wow, they do Airstream Fini, though. Okay, great play on their end. But that doesn't KO us, so that's good. I guess now my only fear is if Landorus at +1 speed outspeeds Venusaur and Sun. That could be a problem. And they have Energy Ball. Wow, great double up there. That was a really good play. That might have just put my opponent back in this one. Wow, I didn't get the soak off there. That's actually really bad for us. I tried to play around a crit, but might end up getting punished severely for it. Huh, well done. I just didn't think there was any way the Fini was fainting there, so I thought I'd get a guaranteed soak, and if I'm trading Fini for turning Landorus into Water type there, it's honestly worth it for us. But they actually had Energy Ball on the Primarina. Had I just gone for Vine Lash there, the game was instantly over. So kudos to my opponent for finding a really good way back into this game. But we get the Sun up again. And we still have a turn at max, which is obviously good as well. So I think here I'm just going to Vine Lash into Primarina and go for the Yawn onto the... Actually, Burning Jealousy burns it, which is really good for us in this endgame. Would I rather burn it? I think I would rather burn it here. So, really nice job by my opponent that last turn to double up onto Fini. Yeah, they don't protect Primarina, so we should still just get the knockout here. Nice. I'm just shocked they didn't bring out Dialga. Because I honestly, we get a crit there. That may have mattered if they were Assault Vested. You could also Max Quake the Torkoal right now rather than Airstream Venu, but they are going to Airstream, which means we'll get Burning Jealousy off. Yeah, Venu survived anyway. I probably shouldn't have tried to play... Well, I don't know. If I try to play around the crit, like, let's say I get crit on Max Airstream last turn, it's really bad, right? And this is, like, the worst... Like, last turn was the worst possible outcome, and we're still in pretty good shape here. They are Lum, though, on Landorus. Okay, that makes this considerably more interesting. Because they get one more turn of Max now. And they have Sucker Punch on Grimmsnarl. This is going to be an interesting endgame. I think our play here is to just double protect. Right? It's pretty safe to double protect. I mean, if you're my opponent, there's still one more turn of Vine Lash. You want to Sucker Punch Venusaur right now. And Max Quake Torkoal. Yeah, I don't mind double protecting here. That's just such a good double up onto my Fini. And I didn't consider Energy Ball. Moonblast might have been able to finish me off there anyway, though. So, yeah. And I was thinking maybe... Oh, no, after you get the speed boost, the Primarina will definitely outspeed Scarfini. But without the speed boost, you probably don't. So, I could have insta-won the game by going for Vine Lash and then just soak onto the Landorus. Like I said, I was trying to play around the crit, because if they did end up Airstreaming Venusaur and I get crit, it's actually really bad. Because we just don't have great damage output after that. So... I still don't regret the way I played, but, you know, this is what you have to do when you're behind. And from my opponent's perspective, they made a very good play. There's Sucker Punch. Yeah, and there's Max Quake. I mean, so this is scary, right? Because it is a Landorus in this endgame. But Torkoal actually might have been able to take that even without the Protect, which would have been pretty interesting. So now the troublesome thing for my opponent is if you want to go for Earthquake, you have to KO your own Grimmsnarl. You really don't want to do that right now. If I'm my opponent, what am I going for here? Sucker Punch on a Venusaur and just Rock Slide? And I don't think we want Zekrom to take any damage in the back. Sucker Punch should KO, right? 2 turns of... 1 last turn of Reflect, actually, which is pretty interesting. I could Burning Jealousy. I really actually do want to switch Venu out here. Venu out into Zekrom. Wait, how many turns of Sun do I have left? 3. I could also go for a Protect here, just to not get hit by Sucker Punch. Okay. I went for Protect Yawn here. That doesn't feel like the right play. It'd be okay. I mean, we do bypass the Sucker Punch, but they're going to Rock Slide, right? Oh, they actually go for Earthquake. Torkoal should survive this. So there's our Grimmsnarl, though. This is going to be so close. Yeah, that was a really good double up onto Fini earlier by them. I think Yawn actually was the right play. Yeah, and if we get that double Protect off, we're in really good shape as well. Their Reflect is over now. I have Zekrom in the back. So you'd probably want to just Sucker Punch Earthquake. So I should Protect Torkoal here. If Zekrom survives Sucker Punch plus Earthquake, which I think it should, Landorus is definitely falling asleep after this turn, so we go for the knockout onto Grimmsnarl right now. So we Protect Torkoal Fusion Bolt. Okay, let's see. I just need to avoid, yeah, getting KO'd on Zekrom. I don't think Sucker Punch EQ does it. And they go for Reflect, which is even better for us. Because I'm pretty sure we should survive Earthquake here. I went for Fusion Bolt, by the way, just to guarantee the knockout onto Grimmsnarl, because we know Landorus is falling asleep after this turn. Yeah, that's not nearly enough. They would have needed a crit. But it's funny, I just spent this whole time trying to play around a crit just to be in a position where a crit could win them the game anyway. Although, crit onto Zekrom alone wouldn't have done it. They needed to double up onto us there. So, this is an example where I had a big enough lead where that's why I was willing to make that max guard play on Venusaur, because I figured even in the worst case scenario, we were probably fine. However, my opponent did a very good job identifying the one play that could keep them in the game. That being said, you could see, I played as safely as possible in this endgame, and it basically paid off. There was very little downside. It does get a little bit scary, though, right? When you have such an early lead and suddenly your opponent, makes this really good play to get back into it. But there was room for my opponent to make that play in this one. And that's the awkward thing about Landorus in late games, right? If you are going to be the... yeah, I mean, if your Dynamax is over and you don't have, Flying types or Levitate users, you have to Earthquake yourself. So I was kind of surprised to not see Rock Slide come out. But they just want to guarantee damage. But this is why Torkoal is a really good Pokemon in the format. Yes, it's weak to ground type, but its physical defense is just so darn good that it can take these physical moves without too much problem. So I'm just a little bit sad about that one because, I try to play around this Soak Fini endgame. If we got the Soak on a Landorus, man, it would have been very, very cleanly over. We did get that critical hit onto Primarina, which might have been a big deal as well. That was a rather fortunate crit because if it were actually AV, then it definitely mattered. But if it weren't AV, I'm thinking we'd pick up the knockout anyway. This next team is really cool. Reshiram. Wow. I didn't think in using Zekrom we'd go up against a Reshiram, so that's neat. Okay. Umbreon's a huge nuisance here. I kind of want to just go Fini Zekrom, but my opponent does have Rillaboom. Rillaboom's so subpar into my team, though, with Lando, Venu, and Torkoal. So, would you really want to bring it? I wouldn't think so. Do I really need Fini? Well, can I see Wind into Max Wormwind from Zekrom? I don't want to go Torkoal Venu. I don't want to max Venu because Reshiram's going to crush me. Just, I feel like I should bring Landorus because of Reshiram, but you can see how my opponent's team is composed, right? They have Thundurus and Milotic to bait out Landorus. So I'm probably not going to bring it. Alright, I'm going to go Fini, Zekrom, Torkoal Venu, I think. Urshifu is valuable here just for a single Wicked Blow. So, we'll see. Either way, Fini is very interesting here because I could also Nature's Madness into Max Wormwind or just Icy Wind, Max Wormwind. Soak Max Lightning of Reshiram doesn't come out. So we have options for sure. But my opponent seems pretty scary. It's going to be Thundurus Reshiram. You know what? I'm actually pretty okay with that. This is, not that scary. What's interesting is my opponent just brought out 2 Pokemon that typically wants to max. So what actually maxes here? Oh, actually, because of the Misty terrain, yeah, we might not want to Wormwind, right? Their Reshiram appears to be fast. I don't want Icy Wind activated Defiant here on Reshiram. We have AV, so we should take physical attacks from Reshiram decently well. Like, I'm honestly leaning towards Soak Max Lightning Reshiram, or sorry, Thundurus turn 1. Alright, I'm kind of down. They max first. I was thinking Thundurus would be the more likely max option out of these two for speed control. Yeah, okay. If like, I'm hoping to see Thundurus max and then Reshiram just protects turn 1. We get the soak off, and then we just knock out Thundurus. Although, with Reshiram, I mean, you could just max Lightning Fini, change terrain, and then Reshiram could get a strong Dragon-type attack off into my Zekrom, which is kind of scary. Couldn't really bring Landorus in the early game. Maybe could have brought it in the back. What were my other options here? Icy Wind, Wormwind. Well, let's see. Okay, yeah, they don't protect Reshiram, which is a good play on their end, but hoping we can one-shot Thundurus here. Okay, they go for Airstream. That makes sense, but we should survive that. That's actually a really big deal, because it means I can bring Fini out and back in. Or I could just soak Reshiram next turn, right? And now the terrain remains up as well. Okay, just go for Earth Power, okay. Yeah, with the AV and their Life Orb on Reshiram, that's good to know. With AV, we take that without too much issue. So I'll get Max Lightning into Thundurus. And that is why you use Soak Fini and Zekrom, ladies and gentlemen. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. So that's a great start to the game. That's exactly what we're looking for here. I mean, this Reshiram's still really scary. Don't get it twisted. I don't think a Dragon-type attack KOs Zekrom, but my Zekrom can't protect right now. My Fini's obviously revealed the Scarf as well. They bring out Rillaboom, which actually I'm okay with. I still don't think a Dragon-type attack one-shots my Fini here. Or sorry, one-shots my Zekrom, but if it does, that could be very scary. And I do have Life Orb Earth Power in the back, right? So, like, Fini's going to want to switch out here. Would I rather go into Torkoal or Venusaur? I lean towards Torkoal here, honestly. Just go out in Torkoal and then Wormwind into Reshiram. Yeah, it's just a question of whether, like, a Dragon-type attack from Reshiram can one-shot Zekrom from this range. You could Glide, or you could High Horsepower with Rillaboom as well. If you have High Horsepower, actually, yeah, I think a double up onto Zekrom feels pretty likely right now. But they just go for Glide into Fini. So, this is, yeah, my opponent probably not recognizing that I am Scarfed, because, and they just Dragon Pulse. We should survive that. Okay. I was wondering if Draco Meteor would KO, but now we should just knock out Reshiram cleanly, which is great. There it is. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, this couldn't have gone any better for us, honestly. And I'm glad that Fini could do a little bit more in this one, because I was trying to set it up, and it did do a fair amount, right? Turning Whimsicott into a water type that last game was actually pretty valuable for us, because it meant we could just cleanly knock out with the Vine Lash. And the awkward thing with Venusaur sometimes is you want to go for the Max Quake or the Max Flare, but that means you're not getting the Vine Lash off, and it is so important to get the Vine Lash off when you play with Venusaur, right? Milotic's going to be my opponent's last one. That's no problem. Let's just switch Torkoal back out into Fini to change the terrain, so it's no longer grassy terrain. We have Venusaur in the back, so that will cleanly win against Milotic. And I'll just max Airstream here into Rillaboom. We don't want to go for a Wormwind because we don't want to activate Defiant, or sorry, Competitive on Milotic. I probably could have stayed in with Torkoal here as well. Actually, wait, that was a better play because I just set up the Misty terrain. Well, no, yeah, never mind. I didn't Wormwind at Airstream, so we're fine. Can soak the Rillaboom now. We have Nature's Madness on Fini as well, which is kind of sweet. Milotic protects, perfect. No reason to target Milotic here when we have Zekrom and Venusaur in the back, so let's eliminate Rillaboom first. But this game was won after turn 2. Man, Zekrom actually just picks up 3 one-hit KOs. That's so nice. Like, Zekrom can feel a little bit underwhelming if it doesn't have a Life Orb, but in this game, like, it's still really good against anything that doesn't Dynamax, right? So this was just a clean Zekrom sweep in the end. Turn 1 worked out really, really well for us. Like, that was the main thing. I was nervous about being support Thundurus. Like, you know, I've seen a bunch of different support away into Thunduruses. Reshiram maxing turn 1 and Worm winning into Zekrom could have been a little bit scary. But now we can just go for Nature's Madness and Fusion Bolt. And this was the Fini Zekrom game, so happy to show off what this duo potentially has the power to do. Because that last game we had to like maneuver a little bit fancily, and yeah, could have been a little bit better. It was just a really good double up on a Fini. But this is the thing, right? In Pokemon VGC, it's important to identify when your lead is big enough where in that first game, for example, even with that double up on a Fini, we still were in a pretty comfortable spot. It just looked a little bit scary because our lead was so big to begin with, right? So it is Modest, Max, Wikiberry, Umbreon, Miracle Seed. No Fake Out, which is very interesting. That's very interesting, actually. Wow. So here's the thing. My opponent did have high horsepower, so the turn I switched Fini out, they had the opportunity to actually high horsepower and Dragon Pulse into the Zekrom. If you pick up a KO there, you're instantly back in the game. But they didn't go for that. Because you should recognize the Fini as Choice Scarfed after Max Airstream, or after turn 1, right? After I outspeed the Thundurus. So then you realize, hey, the only thing I can do with Fini is Soak right now, so that's not actually a big threat the subsequent turn. Lum Thundurus, and then Babiri Sylveon. So sometimes it's like important to recognize when you shouldn't just take the knockout that's directly in front of you and like intentionally not pick up the knockout. The awkward thing about using any Assault Vest Pokemon is that you can't protect with said Pokemon, right? And in this case, yeah, Zekrom was left pretty exposed. Because if I could protect, I probably would have max guarded, you know, switched out. But maybe my opponent was also thinking Dragon Pulse would just be enough to pick up a knockout. That would make a lot of sense. Or just, you know, maybe not recognizing that it was indeed Choice Scarf Tapu Fini. Either way, yeah. I think I played against this player actually when I was practicing earlier, and I learned a bunch of pretty key things. Unfortunately for this team, despite Venusaur with Sun and Choice Scarf Tapu Fini, you still got outsped by that's Choice Scarf Inteleon, I believe, and it had Icy Wind as well. So this is not a great matchup for us, I have to be honest. Yeah, just because we get outsped by almost everything here. Like, they have Scarf Inteleon. It's probably Soak as well, right? And they have Regieleki. Both which are really bad to see. So how do I approach this? I could lead Torkoal Venu. But my opponent could just lead Inteleon at Lecky and Soak Max Lightning. Man, I have no idea how to lead this one. I'm thinking Zekrom, Urshifu, mainly because Urshifu's sashed, and then Venusaur in the back. I don't think Fini makes much sense in this game, because my opponent has a Lecky and Thundurus. Those both already can just outspeed. Well, Thundurus won't outspeed us, but I can go for the Soak like strategy very easily here, so I'm gonna leave it on the bench this time around. This is a really tough matchup, though, I think, because they just have the speed advantage, and with this team, you typically want to move first. So Indeedee Calyrex, though. I could have brought Fini for terrain control against this specifically. I mean, Urshifu, like, this isn't that bad for us, actually. Could be a lot worse. Because what I can do right now, turn 1, is max Airstream Wicked Blow and get a speed boost onto Urshifu. That's kind of nice. Yeah, actually, I like that a lot. Indeedee's not really a threat here. They're going to be Seed. Okay. The one way, yeah, we can get speed control via max Airstream here. So I think I am willing to go for max Airstream and Wicked Blow, turn 1 onto Calyrex. If you're Indeedee, follow me, sure, whatever. Wicked Blow will go first and knock out Indeedee, presumably. They're not going to max either, which is fine with me, too. If I let Fini Zekrom here, I could have just gone for Soak Max Lightning turn 1. So, like, Fini Zekrom actually would have been okay here, too, but when they have Inteleon, Lecky Thundurus, it doesn't feel safe enough to me. And with the Assault Vest, like, our Zekrom won't take that much damage right now. Yeah, they just go for Follow Me. That's fine. That is more than okay with me. And just Astral Barrage. Okay. Because the thing is, Urshifu with the speed boost is kind of nice against my opponent's team. Wicked Blow into the Indeedee. That's enough for a one-shot. Perfect. Okay. Them not having Sash here is valuable for us as well. Now, I don't think my Zekrom will outspeed most of my opponent's Pokemon, even with the speed boost. Man, I wonder if Max Lightning would have just one-shot there, but I have to cover for the option of Focus Sash Calyrex, right? And I like the idea of getting a speed boost onto Urshifu. Next turn's a little bit dicey, I suppose. Because I want to protect Urshifu and probably get another speed boost onto it. There's Inteleon coming out. Should be Scarf Inteleon. Okay, wait, I'm kind of down to just Max Lightning Inteleon here, then and protect Urshifu. Because then I get rid of Terrain, to which I could Sucker Punch Calyrex. Kind of surprised they didn't bring out something that wanted a Max. You're just Icy Wind, yeah, that's fine. Anytime you see Inteleon, you should immediately assume Choice Scarf, by the way. They just Astral Barrage, yeah. What's funny is, like, yeah, with this team, you know, I think both of us have Soak, and yeah, look how little damage AV Zekrom takes. What a beast. With this team, like, you should... It's actually kind of hard to see the Soak strategy coming your way, just because Fini, like, running Choice Scarf and Soak is so rare. Whereas with something like Inteleon, whenever I see an Inteleon, I'm like, what else is it going to do other than click Soak, right? The answer is Icy Wind as well, Snipe Shot, but... We have a quick lead, 4-2. We have Torkoal Venu in the back. Let's see what their max option is going to be. It's going to be Thundurus. That is probably the strongest thing they could have. I just want to double check Urshifu's speed. We should outspeed the Calyrex right now. So Wicked Blow in a Calyrex is really safe. We have Venusaur in the back too, so that's obviously good. I mean, we have such a big lead here. Like, I just want to ensure that we don't throw the match right now. I could see Calyrex max guarding here as Thundurus. Ooh, that's actually a pretty good play. Oh, but if I just max Lightning Thundurus, it should feint. So I think max Lightning Thundurus, Wicked Blow into Calyrex here is fine. Unless I'm miscalculating and we actually don't outspeed Calyrex here with Urshifu, but this is max speed. Okay, they max Thundurus, which I'm also okay with. You can't protect in front of the Urshifu, and I don't want to Sucker Punch in case they have Substitute. I could have gone for another max Airstream there. That could have been interesting. Yep, we just outspeed. Okay, great. Yeah, this is why max Airstream can be really valuable speed control in this format. Like, our lead actually ended up being really good here, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, Indeedee Calyrex was actually probably the best thing to go up into, given that we led with Urshifu immediately. They're just going to Airstream now, but this Urshifu put in so much work, so it was so essential to bring it out in this one. So, good job, Urshifu. Shouldn't be surprising. I mean, this Pokemon is so good in this format, especially against Calyrex, but we got, like, maximum value out of it, so I'm pretty happy about that. The reason I doubled up onto the Urshifu, or sorry, the Calyrex turn 1, by the way, is because my opponent has no counterplay to that. If you go for Follow Me, then, which is what they ended up doing, then, I mean, you saw the outcome of that. And if you go for a, you can't protect in front of the Urshifu, right? Urshifu would just Wicked Blow. So, as soon as my opponent led that into Urshifu, we were in really, really good shape. The main thing to watch out for here is that I wasn't going to necessarily win with my Soak strategies, given that they had Inteleon. Regieleki was the thing I was most nervous to see, so I was actually kind of happy to not see that come out, because part of the problem is that Aleki outspeeds us so consistently here. But now we can just Burning Jealousy and Wow Charge. Or sorry, not Wow Charge. Bolt Beak. Not Bolt Beak. What am I saying? Fusion Bolt. And go for the win. But yeah, they just end up forfeiting. Cool. Well, we have... it's been a pretty fast couple of games, so let's play a fourth one today. It did take me a little bit of time to get used to this team. Like, I spent a couple of games practicing because knowing the speed interactions is really important. And I had a bunch of games, including one against that previous opponent where I learned a lot, where I figured, like, I thought Venusaur in Sun would outspeed Scarf Inteleon, but that's actually not the case. And the problem with Venusaur in Sun is that it just gets dunked on by both the Aleki and the Inteleon, if they're faster, right? You can just Soak Max Lightning turn 1, for example. So, initially, when I run into that previous player on the ladder, I went with Venusaur, not realizing that it's actually just slower than Scarf Inteleon anyway, and Aleki. Now, Aleki shouldn't be super surprising because, yeah, with Aleki, like, if you're max speed, you outspeed pretty much everything. But I was thinking, hey, for Scarf Inteleon, like, maybe if, you know, Aleki has to be slower than Scarf Inteleon, I thought Venusaur outspeed Scarf Inteleon. So that was kind of the mindset I had. Okay, this one's Necrozma. Torkoal and Venusaur, I feel like, are must-bring. I don't know if Venusaur's a must-bring. This one's tricky. I like all of my Pokemon a lot. I also learned that Soak, like Max Lightning Zekrom, is not a guaranteed KO into Porygon, and that's kind of a nuisance. All of our Pokemon are so good here. I really don't know what the approach is. SD Landers could be incredible, but it has to worry about a Porygon too. I had someone Dynamax their Porygon 2 just to deal with Swords Dance Landers. They only had one attack, it was Ice Beam, but Max Hailstorm picked up the knockout. What if I just went with Fini Zekrom again? I just feel like, how could I not? I have to bring Urshifu into this one. Right? It's so good. The reality is, I don't know how good Zekrom is here. So what if I go Fini, Venusaur, Torkoal, Urshifu? Now hear me out on this one. I mean, you could always bring Zekrom. Like, it feels really weird to not bring a restricted Pokemon, but, like, I really want to bring Urshifu. I really want Torkoal, and I didn't want to give up Fini here either. And Venusaur's good, so I don't know. Like, it's always a question mark to leave your restricted Pokemon on the bench. So, like, I'm not sure that was the right play, but we'll see. You know what's really interesting here, though, is I can just Soak and Vine Lash Porygon turn 1. And the thing is, more Porygons are invested in physical defense rather than special defense. And the reality is that, like, well, if I let Zekrom here, like I mentioned, I don't KO Porygon anyway if they're defensively invested. However, Light Screen coming out turn 1 here feels pretty likely. I kind of still want to go for the Soak play, though. Soak, Max, Vine Lash. Torkoal's going to be very good in dealing with Necrozma. Although, the awkward thing is by bringing out Fini, I've set up the Misty Terrain, so I can't yawn very easily, at least of right now. But that's the thing, right? Like, I'd rather have Torkoal and Urshifu against the Necrozma than the Zekrom. What the heck is Zekrom going to do against the Necrozma? Nothing. Literally nothing. It just gets hit by Max Quakes. Even if I Max Zekrom, at best I get a Max Lightning off. So, like, the only value of Zekrom would be to have Soak into the Max Lightning into Necrozma. But the thing is, Necrozma typically carries Weakness Policy anyway, so if I'm activating a policy, that's also not good for us. So, let's see. Let us see how turn 1 plays out. If they don't Light Screen, that would be the best case, but I don't see... Like, it's gotta be Fake Out into Fini or Light Screen, one of the two, right? Yeah. So now I'm curious how well Porygon can take this, and whether or not it can feint after the residual damage. Because the problem is, if it doesn't feint after residual, then it can just recover all of the damage I deal to it, effectively wasting a lot of my turn 1. It's close, but not enough. It's going to hang on with just a little bit. Now, another Vine Lash will KO, though, which is good. And there's Trick Room. Trick Room's not surprising, but that's okay. Yeah, that Light Screen was essential for it surviving, but that's a good calc to know. If you don't Light Screen, Porygon does just cleanly feint. I feel like I should probably switch out Fini right now. Torkoal is such an easy switch in to make. The thing is, how annoying is Porygon as a late game option? Because I kind of want to knock out Grimmsnarl right now, because if I don't, then it can Sucker Punch the Necrozma that might be coming in. Feels bad, though, to let Porygon get a recover off here. But maybe they expect to get hit by Vine Lash anyway. Okay, I'm going to Vine Lash Grimmsnarl here, because I really don't want my opponent to self-activate their policy. Although they could be Foul Play Porygon, which could activate Policy and Necrozma. I feel fine about my decision to not bring the Zekrom in this game, actually. Like, I don't think it would have done very much for us into what my opponent had here, so, yeah. Okay, they go for Taunt. That's fine with me. Especially because I can't yawn right now anyway. And nice, okay, so they end up Eerie Impulsing instead of going for Recover because they figured I'd KO them anyway. And I actually don't mind that, right? Because Porygon now feints, and I get free Vine Lash onto the Grimmsnarl. I guess the only problem is now you, of course, can actually bring in that Necrozma and go for a Weakness Policy strat if you have it. But Porygon feints, which is good. So not a bad start to the game. My only question is whether or not this Grimmsnarl actually has Sucker Punch. It's revealed Light Screen so far and Taunt. You're probably going to want Reflect and then typically one attacking move. Because if it's not Policy Necrozma, I think this game is really hard to win for my opponent. But if it's Policy, it's very puts them in a completely different spot. I don't see much value for Fini right now. I could also stall out my own terrain to get a Yawn off in a Necrozma, so I like the idea of switching Torkoal out right now into Fini. I just don't want to Max Flare if they actually don't have Sucker Punch. Like, I don't want to carelessly activate Weakness Policy here. Okay, I'm just going to go for a Max Quake then onto Grimmsnarl. Just because that plus Residual should pick up the knockout anyway. Wish we had Eruption right now with Torkoal, but yeah. Because the thing is, Necrozma without Weakness Policy isn't that scary. I think our Pokemon choice was fine. I just don't know if I played turn 1 perfectly. Because I could have doubled up on a Grimmsnarl, but if I double up on a Grimmsnarl, you get a free switch in. Fini is completely useless. I think I might have just need to come up with a better lead, but I don't have a guaranteed way to deny Trick Room in this matchup. Unfortunately. And they don't Sucker Punch. That's very good for us. That's very good for us. Because this means that the thing with Necrozma is like it gets really scary if you can snowball very quickly, right? But right now they can't snowball very quickly. Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't want to just launch a like Max Flare into that slot. They Spirit Break, so I'm thinking they don't have Sucker Punch. Oh, that's not good. I think we would have survived without that crit. Ah, that's rough. Because that would have just bought me an extra turn of wasting Necrozma's Max. I'm not happy about that. We don't KO Grimmsnarl either, but that's okay, because Grimmsnarl revealed Spirit Break, so it should be dual screen Spirit Break taunt. I'm really sad about that crit, though, because if we don't get crit there, I can just easily protect Venusaur, sacrifice Fini, burn another turn of Trick Room. Okay. I think I have to go into Torkoal here. The thing is, we have a clear win con against Necrozma in the endgame, which is just Wicked Blow into it, but that crit definitely makes things a lot harder. Unless it would have KO'd Fini anyway, but we're like 50+%. I don't think it would have. 2 turns of Trick Room left, which is good. 2 turns of Dynamax left, which is also good. So I think this turn I'm willing to just double protect right now. Wait, let me just double check. How many turns of Terrain? 2 as well, yeah. I'm going to be surprised if their last one were Urshifu. Is it? Yeah, it's the last turn of Vine Lash. I could have gone for Vine Lash to actually knock out Grimmsnarl. That would have been better to force the last Pokemon to take some Vine Lash chips, so that was probably a slight misplay. I'm just going to double protect here. We stall out another turn of Dynamax on Necrozma's end. It doesn't do that much damage. And more importantly, we'll time this perfectly so that Urshifu comes out right when Trick Room ends. So this is where Protect on Venusaur is really valuable for us, but I think Vine Lash on a Grimmsnarl was better. I didn't need a special defense boost in this endgame. They go for Taunt. Onto Venusaur, that's actually kind of interesting. I feel like there's not much value from that, but okay. I mean, it prevents Sleep Powder, but the thing is that terrain is up anyway, right? And that did, what, 30, was it 31, 32 damage? I didn't see the exact range. Grimmsnarl faints, which is good. Necrozma spent 2 turns of Dynamax to not do very much right now, which is also good. Because the thing about Necrozma is if you bring it out under Trick Room and actually get the policy set up, I'm doomed. I'm just completely doomed. So it's a big deal that they didn't have Sucker Punch there. And it's also a big deal we didn't actually activate that weakness policy because it would accelerate the game so much quicker for my opponent to win this. Okay, Urshifu is their last one. So we took 31 damage from that Max Quake, meaning even if you did 4 times that, that's 124. We should survive with Torkoal, which is actually a really big deal. So, here, I'm willing to just body press the Urshifu. This is why, though, it would have been better to just knock out Grimmsnarl, because then Urshifu's Sash would have been broken from Vine Lash. Body press. Should I risk a miss? We're at -2. +1 Spadef. The special defense boost was completely useless. That was a bad play on my end. Urshifu could protect here, that's the thing. If it doesn't protect, I think we definitely have this game won. And then it could come to a speed tie between the Urshifus, but they don't protect. Okay, that's huge. I don't think you can knock out both of my Pokemon here, and that's the... Oh, but Earth Power is not going to KO from that range. Oh, especially with the special defense boost. I should have just Leaf Stormed. Oops. Okay, Torkoal does hang on, though. That's the main thing I needed here. Yeah, I think we're still fine. We heal up with Citrus. And then we still have our Urshifu in the late game. I haven't activated a policy on their end yet, which is critical. We might survive Wicked Blow on Venusaur here too, but I think we always need to sack the Venu here. Oh, that's actually enough to KO. Wow, okay. My only question is whether or not Wicked Blow KOs Necrozma right now, because if it doesn't, then this actually might come down to a speed tie. Even if I Leaf Storm there, wouldn't have made a difference. Oh boy, I'm not sure Wicked Blow KOs Necrozma. I might have needed to do a little bit more damage into it. At least they don't have Reflect up. We are max speed here. If you're my opponent, you could... Oh, Sucker Punch Earthquake won't KO. Like, the thing is, I don't think Necrozma can one-shot Urshifu here. So I think I should just close combat into Urshifu. Terrain's also gone, right? Well, Burning Jealousy should put it in the Necrozma Wicked Blow KO range. And we're slower right now, so I think I'm just going to close combat into Urshifu. If we win a speed tie, game's instantly over. If we lose, do we lose the game? Well, we end up going first, so... That's probably a speed tie. I don't know. I need to do this calc. I'm going to do the calc after the game, because if Wicked Blow is a guaranteed KO on Necrozma from the range that it's at, it's always Wicked Blow into Necrozma. But I wasn't confident on it because of its ability. And you just go for Sunsteel Strike. Yeah, perfect. Let's see. If we lost the speed tie there, and they doubled up onto Urshifu, which they presumably did, I lose the game, I think, right? Because I just end up activating a policy here. Yeah. Burning Jealousy, no, it is the right... how do I play this game so I don't risk it? Also, I don't even know if we could blow KOs right now, by the way. I should have yawned there. I absolutely should have yawned there. Actually, it doesn't make a difference, I don't think, because... Oh, no, if I yawn, then I could just double protect. Yeah. It was a misplay to not yawn, because if Wicked Blow doesn't KO right now, I actually, yeah, definitely made a mistake here. Let's see. I mean, it's great Wicked Blow, but this is Necrozma we're talking about. And they probably have Earthquake here. Oh, it survives. Wow. Well played. I messed up that endgame. I should have yawned over Burning Jealousy. I just thought with Burning... Actually, I should have body pressed too. That was actually a really critical mistake, but in the end, it's good to know we wouldn't have KO'd with Wicked Blow, so it did come down to a speed tie, but this should have been a win if I didn't make a mistake by Burning Jealousy rather than... It's always body press, because I forgot they had all the special defense boosts. And I thought it was definitely just a guaranteed KO after Burning Jealousy, but Burning Jealousy barely did anything. The best play to go for in that endgame is to always yawn into Necrozma, because then we just double protect, it falls asleep, and then we win anyway. But in the end, I think we needed to win a speed tie, and I needed to play the endgame correctly. I wasn't 100% sure of Necrozma surviving there, but Burning Jealousy is never the right play, because it also ends up activating a weakness policy. It's always better to go for yawn or the body press there, so that was obviously a very critical mistake, but in the end, like, you never want to rely on... We won the speed tie too, and we ended up losing the game, so that was like the worst possible outcome. But what I wanted to say is you never want to rely on winning a speed tie to win the game, right? I didn't do a great job around that. Eerie Impulse was really good. Yeah, I mean, in the end, it came down to... How do I play better to not put myself in a speed tie position, though? I could have Vine Lashed into the Grimmsnarl, then that would have forced Urshifu out earlier. But then it still doesn't make much of a difference because Urshifu wouldn't have fainted from Body Press Vine Lash anyway. I definitely should have gone for Body Press or Yawn there. I totally forgot about all the special defense boosts. There's no reason to activate a policy there either because Torkoal maybe survives an Earthquake if you don't activate the policy there. So yeah, that was a very clear misplay. I for some reason just thought Wicked Blow with Burning Jealousy chip would be enough, but the Burning Jealousy chip was just so small. That's why you always need to optimize your endgame, right? And I clicked my buttons too quickly there. Like, there's no reason... Like, I should always ask myself, what value do I get from Burning Jealousy? Well, the main value would be super effective damage and a burn, but I can't burn right now. They're not going to boost their stats. And then, so the answer is super effective damage. But what in the world is that doing when Necrozma's got into, what, +2, +3 Spidef? So, Body Press was... In my head, I was just like, neither. It doesn't matter, but... It obviously did, right? So you should always just go for the thing that maximizes your damage output. In fact, Yawn would have been the best play out of all of those. I think Body Press is actually objectively the best play, just in case it's Lumberry on the the Necrozma. It's so rare, but we hadn't seen its item, so like that would make me a little bit more hesitant. So Body Press is objectively the best play out of those three because it does the most damage, and then does enough where Wicked Blow should then guarantee the KO. So this is a good end game to learn from because I made a mistake, and you should always just make the best move possible, and Burning Jealousy just did not make the most sense. I honestly kind of forgot about the special defense boost, which is why I didn't think it made a difference. Like, I was like, oh, you know, without special defense boost, Burning Jealousy should definitely do enough single target, but Body Press was always the right play there. So, yeah. Thanks so much, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed, please share support by leaving a like, and yeah, don't forget to check out the team, linked in the description below. I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.